Did you know that seniors in long-term relationships are 40% more likely to report chronic stress than their single peers? The introduction begins by anchoring the discussion in a universal truth for seniors: health as the cornerstone of a fulfilling life. It then disrupts the audience's expectations with a provocative question. But could staying single actually be the secret to longevity and happiness? Immediately challenging the deeply ingrained societal belief that companionship is inherently beneficial or even essential in later years. This rhetorical tactic works because it capitalizes on cognitive dissonance. Most people assume relationships equate to emotional support and security, but the introduction hints at an alternative narrative. By citing recent studies, a vague yet authoritative phrase, it establishes credibility while inviting curiosity. The phrase, surprising truths, primes the reader to expect counterintuitive insights, which is critical for engagement, as it promises to reveal what conventional wisdom might overlook. The mention of independence, stress, and social bonds subtly maps out the article's themes without overtly listing them, creating a subconscious roadmap for the audience. The example of Margaret, a 72-year-old who prioritized her health post-divorce, serves as a micro-story that humanizes the data. It's relatable. Many seniors face similar crossroads and position singlehood not as a loss, but as an active choice towards self-care. The introduction also acknowledges the complexity of aging by balancing autonomy, freedom from conflicting preferences, with practical concerns like diet and sleep, which are daily pain points for older adults. Crucially, it avoids vilifying relationships, instead framing singlehood as a preferable option under certain circumstances, which prevents alienating readers in happy partnerships. The closing line: freedom from conflicting preferences empowers healthier daily choices, reinforces agency, a powerful motivator for seniors who may feel their choices are limited by age or societal expectations. By weaving together stats, story, and a touch of rebellion against stereotypes, the introduction doesn't just inform, it invites readers to reimagine aging as a phase of empowerment rather than compromise. Point 1. Autonomy in health decisions. As we age, the ability to make health decisions that align with our personal needs becomes increasingly critical. And for many seniors, autonomy in these choices can mean the difference between stagnation and thriving. Autonomy, in this context, refers to the freedom to prioritize one's health without external pressures or compromises. For single seniors, this independence often translates to more consistent adherence to medical advice, tailored lifestyle adjustments, and a proactive approach to managing chronic conditions. Scientific research supports this phenomenon. A 2020 study published in the Journal of Gerontology analyzed health behaviors among 3,000 adults aged 65 and older, comparing those who were married or partnered to those who were single. The findings revealed that unmarried seniors were 25% more likely to follow prescribed treatments, attend regular medical checkups, and maintain routines like physical therapy or medication schedules. Researchers attributed this gap to the absence of conflicting priorities that often arise in relationships. For example, dietary preferences between partners, such as one favoring high-sodium meals while the other requires a low-salt diet for hypertension, can lead to compromises that derail health goals. Similarly, disagreements over sleep schedules or activity levels may pressure individuals to neglect their own needs to accommodate a partner's habits. Troubles. These compromises, while well-intentioned, can accumulate over time, subtly undermining health outcomes. The science behind this is rooted in behavioral psychology. Decision-making in partnerships often involves negotiation, which can create cognitive fatigue or choice dilution, where personal priorities are deprioritized. A 2018 meta-analysis and health psychology review found that individuals in relationships frequently engage in health behavior synchronization, adjusting their habits to match their partners, even when those habits are detrimental. For instance, if one partner resists dietary changes for diabetes management, the other may abandon their own efforts to avoid conflict. Single seniors, however, face fewer such distractions, allowing them to focus on evidence-based practices without negotiation. This aligns with the concept of self-concordance in goal-setting theory, where goals aligned with personal values, rather than external influences, are more likely to be pursued consistently. Consider the story of Margaret, a 72-year-old retiree who spent decades in a marriage where her health took a back seat. Her husband, a former chef, insisted on rich, calorie-dense meals, despite Margaret's arthritis worsening due to inflammation linked to poor diet. She often skipped physiotherapy appointments to avoid arguments about time spent away from home. After her divorce, Margaret began prioritizing her well-being. She adopted an anti-inflammatory diet, attended water aerobics classes 3 times a week, and adhered to a strict medication schedule. Within 6 months, her joint pain decreased by 40%, and she regained mobility she hadn't experienced in years. "I finally felt like I had permission to put myself first," she reflected. Margaret's story illustrates how autonomy can catalyze tangible health improvements. Without the need to negotiate or accommodate another person's preferences, she could implement changes swiftly and consistently. A luxury she hadn't realized was possible in her partnered life. This isn't to say relationships are inherently harmful, but rather to highlight how singlehood can remove barriers to personalized care. For seniors managing chronic conditions like diabetes, heart disease, or mobility issues, the ability to design a lifestyle around their unique needs, without compromise, can be transformative. Autonomy empowers individuals to act on medical advice without delay, whether that means adopting a new exercise regimen, adjusting sleep patterns, or experimenting with dietary changes. In a phase of life where health challenges often multiply, the clarity and focus that come with independence can be a powerful tool for longevity and quality of life. Margaret's journey, backed by robust scientific evidence, underscores a truth many seniors discover. Sometimes, the best health decisions are the ones made with unwavering focus on oneself. Point 2. Reduced stress and conflict. As we age, the toll of chronic stress on the body becomes more pronounced. Elevated blood pressure, weakened immunity, and accelerated cognitive decline are just a few consequences. For seniors in high-conflict relationships, this stress can become a silent, persistent threat. Conflict in partnerships, whether over finances, lifestyle choices, or caregiving responsibilities, triggers a physiological stress response that, over time, erodes health. Scientific studies paint a stark picture. Research published in Psychosomatic Medicine found that older adults in tumultuous marriages had cortisol levels 60% higher than their single peers. Cortisol, the body's primary stress hormone, is linked to inflammation, cardiovascular disease, and impaired immune function when chronically elevated. Even minor disagreements, like recurring arguments over household chores or differing retirement plans, can activate this stress cycle. A longitudinal study by the University of California, Berkeley, tracked couples over 65 for a decade and discovered that those reporting frequent conflict had a 50% higher risk of developing heart disease compared to calmer partnerships. The reason? Repeated emotional strain keeps the body in a prolonged fight-or-flight state, damaging blood vessels, disrupting sleep, and suppressing the immune system's ability to fight infections. The mechanics of this stress are rooted in neurobiology. Conflict activates the amygdala, the brain's fear center, flooding the body with adrenaline and cortisol. For seniors, whose bodies are less resilient to hormonal surges, this can lead to measurable health declines. For example, a 2019 study in the Journals of Gerontology showed that seniors in stressful relationships experienced a 30% faster decline in lung function over 5 years compared to singles. A phenomenon linked to inflammation from chronic stress. Emotional friction also impacts mental health. The same study found partnered seniors in high-conflict relationships were twice as likely to develop depressive symptoms, as unresolved arguments foster feelings of helplessness and resentment. Consider George, a 68-year-old retired teacher whose 40-year marriage became a source of unrelenting stress. His wife, a chronic worrier, fixated on their dwindling savings, leading to daily arguments about spending habits. George, who had hypertension, saw his blood pressure spike dangerously during these clashes, despite medication. His cardiologist warned that stress was undoing the benefits of his treatment. The final straw came when George suffered a minor stroke, which his doctor attributed partly to uncontrolled stress. After separating, George moved into a smaller home, adopted a rescue dog, and joined a Tai Chi group at his local community center. Within months, his blood pressure stabilized, and his cortisol levels dropped to within normal range. "I didn't realize how much weight I was carrying until it was gone," he said. "Now my days are peaceful. I eat when I'm hungry, sleep when I'm tired, and don't answer to anyone's anxiety but my own." George's story underscores how removing relational conflict can create a physiological reset, allowing the body to heal. This isn't to vilify companionship, but to highlight a harsh reality. Not all relationships are emotionally safe. For seniors in partnerships marked by criticism, control, or incompatibility, stress becomes a health hazard as tangible as smoking or poor diet. Single seniors, by contrast, often have greater control over their emotional environments. They can curate routines that minimize stress, whether that's avoiding late-night discussions, prioritizing solitude for relaxation, or sidestepping triggers altogether. Studies also suggest singles are more likely to seek stress-reducing activities like meditation or hobbies, as they aren't negotiating time with a partner. A 2021 report in Aging and AMP Mental Health found unmarried seniors spent 20% more time engaged in mindfulness practices, which reduce cortisol and improve cardiovascular health. George's transformation from a stressed, stroke risk patient to a calmer, healthier individual mirrors the science. His experience reveals a truth many overlook. Peace of mind isn't a luxury, it's a pillar of longevity. For seniors, eliminating chronic conflict isn't about rejecting love. It's about choosing survival. After all, growing older is challenging enough without battling cortisol spikes over who forgot to pay the cable bill. Point 3. Enhanced social connections. As we age, social connections become a lifeline, not just for emotional fulfillment, but for physical and cognitive health. While partnerships can provide companionship, single seniors often cultivate richer, more diverse social networks, which studies show are critical for longevity and resilience. The myth that singlehood equates to loneliness is upended by research revealing that unmarried older adults frequently engage in more social activities than their partnered peers. A Harvard aging study tracking 1,600 seniors found that singles participated in 30% more group activities, from volunteer work to hobby clubs, compared to married individuals. This isn't merely about staying busy. Diverse social ties buffer against isolation, a known risk factor for dementia, heart disease, and premature death. The American Journal of Public Health reports that seniors with robust social networks have a 50% lower risk of mortality than those who are socially isolated, underscoring the life-extending power of community. The science behind this is multifaceted. Social interactions stimulate the release of oxytocin, a hormone that reduces stress and inflammation, while group activities often incorporate physical movement, which benefits cardiovascular health. A University of Michigan study found that seniors who engaged in weekly social activities like book clubs or dance classes had 30% better cognitive function over a decade than those who socialized less. Furthermore, varied relationships provide different types of support. Friends offer emotional validation, community groups foster purpose, and casual acquaintances expand perspectives. This contrasts with partnered seniors, who may rely heavily on a spouse for social needs, creating vulnerability if the partner becomes ill, emotionally unavailable, or passes away. Psychologists call this social portfolio diversification, a strategy that single seniors often master out of necessity, leading to unexpected advantages. Take Rita, a 70-year-old widow who initially struggled with isolation after her husband's death. For years, her social life revolved around his friends and family, leaving her adrift when he was gone. Determined to rebuild, she joined a memoir writing class at her local library, where she connected with others navigating loss. Soon after, she volunteered at a community garden, bonding with neighbors over shared goals of sustainability. On a whim, she signed up for salsa lessons, where she met a lively group of single seniors who met weekly for dinners and outings. Within a year, Rita's calendar was filled with book club debates, gardening projects, and dance rehearsals. "I went from staring at the walls to feeling like I had a tribe," she shared. Her doctor noted improvements in her blood pressure and mood, and Rita herself felt a renewed sense of agency. Her story mirrors findings from a 2022 Journal of Aging and Health study, which linked participation in 3 or more social groups to a 40% reduction in depression risk among seniors. Critics might argue that marriage provides built-in social support, but this assumes the relationship is harmonious and mutually fulfilling. A gamble not all partnerships win. Single seniors, by contrast, are free to design social lives tailored to their interests and values. Rita's journey illustrates how loss can catalyze growth. By stepping outside the confines of a coupled identity, she discovered communities that resonated with her evolving self. Her experience also highlights the pragmatism of singlehood. When health challenges arise, a network of friends can drive her to appointments, check in during recovery, or simply provide distraction through shared laughter. In the end, enhanced social connections aren't just a perk of singlehood, they're a survival strategy. For seniors like Rita, independence doesn't mean going it alone. It means weaving a safety net of diverse relationships that nourish the mind, body, and spirit. As research and lived experience show, the freedom to choose one's tribe can turn the golden years into a time of reinvention, proving that connection, not coupling, is the true cornerstone of thriving in later life. Point 4. Financial independence and stability. As we age, financial stability becomes a cornerstone of both security and well-being, with mounting evidence showing that economic stress can erode physical health as sharply as any chronic disease. For seniors, the burden of financial strain, whether from unexpected medical bills, caregiving costs, or the fallout of divorce, can trigger a cascade of health risks, from insomnia to heart disease. Single seniors, however, often wield greater control over their financial lives, sidestepping the compromises and conflicts that can drain resources in partnerships. A National Council on Aging report reveals that seniors experiencing financial stress face a 50% higher risk of depression compared to those with stable finances, underscoring the profound link between economic autonomy and mental health. This risk is amplified in relationships where shared assets become a source of tension, or where one partner's caregiving needs, such as long-term illness or dementia, deplete savings. A 2021 Fidelity investment study found that 45% of divorced seniors cited financial disagreements as a primary factor in their separation, with many reporting depleted retirement funds post-split. By contrast, unmarried seniors are more likely to maintain sole authority over budgeting, investments, and spending habits, allowing for strategies that align precisely with their priorities and risk tolerance. The science behind this is clear. Financial autonomy reduces decision-making friction. A University of Michigan study published in the Journal of Retirement found that single adults over 65 were 35% more likely to have a documented financial plan, including emergency funds and estate arrangements, than their married peers. Researchers attribute this to the simplicity of unilateral decision-making. No negotiations over large purchases, debt repayment strategies, or legacy planning. For example, a single senior can allocate funds to preventive health measures, like gym memberships or healthier groceries, without debate, while partnered seniors may face pressure to prioritize a spouse's needs or shared expenses. Financial conflicts also carry physiological consequences. A 2019 study in psychosomatic medicine linked economic disagreements in marriages to elevated blood pressure and cortisol levels, creating a double burden of stress that single seniors avoid. Consider Linda, a 67-year-old former accountant who divorced after a 30-year marriage marked by escalating arguments over her husband's reckless spending. During their marriage, he drained their joint savings to fund speculative business ventures, leaving Linda anxious and scrambling to cover mortgage payments. Post-divorce, she downsized from a 4-bedroom home to a cozy condo, slashed discretionary spending, and devised a strict budget that prioritized her health. She paid off lingering credit card debt, invested in a Medicare Advantage plan tailored to her chronic asthma, and set aside funds for annual wellness retreats. Within 2 years, her credit score rebounded from 580 to 750, and she began traveling solo, a lifelong dream she'd deferred for decades. For the first time, I'm not lying awake at night worrying about bills, she said. My money is mine, and every dollar goes toward what I value: security, peace, and joy. Linda's turnaround mirrors findings from a 2023 AARP survey, where 68% of single seniors reported feeling in control of their finances, compared to 52% of married respondents. This financial clarity isn't just about numbers. It's about freedom. Single seniors like Linda avoid the gray divorce pitfalls that erase decades of wealth, such as splitting pensions or selling shared property at a loss. They're also less likely to become financial caregivers for ailing partners, a role that costs the average senior $7,000 annually in out-of-pocket expenses, per the Alzheimer's Association. Without these burdens, they can invest in preventive care, hobbies, and social activities that enrich their quality of life. A telling 2020 study in The Gerontologist found that unmarried seniors with stable finances were twice as likely to report excellent health as those in financially strained partnerships, proving that economic independence isn't just a practical, it's a health intervention. Linda's story, paired with robust data, challenges the notion that partnership guarantees financial security. For many seniors, singlehood isn't a compromise. It's a strategic choice to safeguard their economic future, ensuring their golden years are defined not by scarcity, but by purposeful, stress-free living. After all, aging is challenging enough without battling over budgets or sacrificing your nest egg to someone else's choices. Point 5. Personal growth and self-care. As we age, the pursuit of personal growth and self-care shifts from a luxury to a necessity, a means of preserving cognitive sharpness, emotional resilience, and a sense of purpose. For single seniors, the absence of relational obligations often creates space for profound self-discovery and reinvention, transforming later life into a chapter of unexpected possibilities. Personal growth in this context isn't merely about learning new skills. It's about cultivating a deeper relationship with oneself, free from the compromises that partnerships sometimes demand. Scientific studies reveal that single older adults are more likely to engage in lifelong learning, creative pursuits, and intentional self-care routines. A landmark 2021 study in Psychology and Aging found that unmarried seniors spent 40% more time on hobbies and educational activities than their partnered peers, with measurable benefits. Participants who dedicated at least 10 hours weekly to creative or intellectual pursuits showed a 35% slower rate of cognitive decline over 5 years. Researchers attribute this to the cognitive reserve, built through novel challenges, which strengthens neural pathways and delays dementia onset. Additionally, singles report higher levels of self-actualization, psychological state where individuals focus on fulfilling their potential, according to a 2022 meta-analysis in the Journals of Gerontology. This aligns with Maslow's hierarchy of needs, suggesting that when safety and social needs are met, often through autonomy and community, seniors can redirect energy toward growth-oriented goals. The science of self-care further underscores this advantage. Single seniors are more likely to adopt routines tailored to their physical and emotional needs, whether that's morning meditation, afternoon naps, or evening walks. A UCLA study published in Health Psychology found that unmarried adults over 65 were 50% more likely to maintain consistent sleep schedules, a critical factor in immune health and memory consolidation, compared to those in relationships where sleep patterns often sync and sometimes clash with a partner's habits. Similarly, single seniors report higher adherence to preventive health screenings, as they're less likely to delay or avoid appointments due to a partner's schedule or preferences. This autonomy extends to emotional self-care. Without the emotional labor of managing a partner's moods or resolving conflicts, singles can prioritize activities that replenish their mental energy, such as journaling, art, or spending time in nature. Consider Tom, a 75-year-old retired engineer who spent decades in a marriage where his passion for music was sidelined by his wife's disdain for noisy hobbies. After her passing, Tom felt adrift, until he stumbled upon a dusty guitar in his attic, a relic from his teenage years. On a whim, he signed up for online lessons, dedicating 2 hours daily to practice. What began as a distraction soon became an obsession. Tom joined a local seniors band, started composing original songs, and even performed at a community center. "I felt like a teenager again, nervous, excited, alive," he shared. But the benefits went beyond joy. His neurologist noted improved scores on memory tests, which Tom credits to the cognitive demands of reading music and coordinating finger movements. Inspired by his progress, he launched a YouTube channel to teach other seniors guitar basics, amassing 10,000 subscribers within a year. Tom's story isn't unique. A 2023 Aging and AMP Society study profiled seniors who took up new hobbies post-retirement and found that 80% reported enhanced life satisfaction, with many citing the freedom of singlehood as a catalyst. This emphasis on growth isn't just about filling time. It's about rewriting the narrative of aging. Single seniors like Tom often describe later life as a second act, unshackled from roles they played for others: spouse, caregiver, breadwinner. Without the need to negotiate shared spaces or schedules, they can design days that align with their rhythms and curiosities. For some, this means enrolling in university courses. For others, it's volunteering abroad or writing memoirs. The common thread is agency, the power to choose growth on their own terms. Critics might argue that partnerships provide motivation for self-improvement, but this assumes both individuals share identical goals. In reality, mismatched priorities can stifle growth. Tom's guitar journey, for instance, would have been improbable in a marriage where his partner resented the noise or time commitment. Singlehood removes these barriers, allowing seniors to pursue passions with undiluted focus. In the end, personal growth and self-care in later life aren't indulgences, they're acts of survival. For seniors like Tom, investing in oneself becomes a declaration that aging isn't about decline but evolution. The science and the stories agree. When seniors have the freedom to explore, create, and prioritize their well-being, they don't just age, they thrive. Aging is not a decline, but an opportunity to redefine what fulfillment means. And for many, singlehood emerges as a path to thriving. The autonomy to prioritize health without compromise, the relief from chronic stress, the richness of diverse social bonds, the clarity of financial control, and the joy of unfettered self-discovery all paint a compelling picture. Growing older alone can mean growing stronger. This isn't about rejecting love, but embracing the truth that a life centered on your needs, values, and curiosities can be the ultimate act of self-respect. If you've spent years accommodating others, now is the time to ask, does your current relationship nurture your well-being, or does it drain the energy you could invest in yourself? Take inventory. Reclaim your time. Join that art class. Revamp your retirement plan. Or simply savor the quiet moments that belong entirely to you. Your golden years are not a footnote. They're a fresh chapter. Start writing it today, one unapologetic choice at a time. Your future self will thank you. Your golden years are for you. Embrace them unapologetically. Independence isn't isolation, it's liberation.